Good day, everyone. Once again, my name is Abraham. I'm very sorry for the sound you're getting. We try to work on it. So, this is day one of our 100 days of coding. Today, we are going to be starting with HTML. Just HTML, we are going to understand everything there is about HTML. So I'm going to be switching to my screen now so that we can start and we can move. Let's go. Okay, so this is my screen. As you can see, I created a folder called 100 days of coding, and then inside our folder I'm going to create a subfolder which I would call Tutuan. It's just abbreviation for tutorial 1. So let's open it on VS Code. Okay, so this is it. Our folder has opened on VS Code. Just click I trust the author. Yes, now let's create our first HTML file. um, let's call it index.html. Okay, I don't know why it is loading though, but let's allow it to load and let's open it afterwards. Okay, that's load. Now let me try to explain um, what HTML does and how it relates to what we want to do. Okay. So basically, HTML is like the structure of any website. Yeah, it is okay. Let's take a website like a house. You want to build a house, you need structure, architecture of it. So HTML gives you the frame, gives you like the structure of the whole building, while you can use um, things like CSS, JavaScript to add. CSS basically styles the building, like interior decoration and all those stuff, while JavaScript makes interaction. So let's say when you turn the door knob, the door opens. So those kind of functionalities are being done by JavaScript. I'm just trying to relate um, what this whole technologies does for every part and how it comes to help what you are doing. Okay, I don't know this error it is giving me. You can't see it. I'm extending my screen, so I'm using two screen for this. Okay. Okay, so this will help us understand the structure of HTML. Basically, as you can see the tree here, we have the document. The document is like everything in your browser. So when you open your Chrome browser, the document is everything you see inside your Chrome browser. And then we have the root elements, which is your HTML. Now your root elements is um, okay. Let me try to make this okay. So let's see them side by side, and let me try to explain everything to you. Yeah. Okay, so now when you're starting with HTML, you want to define the structure of your web development or your website. Then the first thing you need to do is to specify what type of HTML you are using. Now, if you are using VS Code, you can just use the shortcuts and click on enter. It gives you the whole syntax. As you can see, just shift one and then it gives you this syntax. Basically you can see some metadata there, but let's start from beginning and explain everything, also using this structure, the HTML structure that is at the side of the screen. So let's go. For you to start developing, the first thing you need to look out for is your doc type. So now what is doc type? Doc type is let me comment what I'm writing here. So this is a comment in HTML. It's not going to reflect on your page. Yeah. Or you can do something like this and then highlight it, control slash, it comments. You can see it has commented everything. So now let's take this guy out of here, control X, and let's put it outside the comments. So now let's start writing our comments. So doc types just signifies or tells the browser the version of HTML you are using. So this tells the browser the okay, my browser is not correct. Okay, I forgot to put X. The browser. Okay, there's D there already. Use now. So this is basically, it just tells the browser the version of HTML you're using. Now doc type is HTML5. It can also work without doc type, but there are certain new features that won't work. Okay, now there's HTML here. This HTML also has a metadata lang en. What it means is language English. That's it. So for like people who don't speak English, you can also change it so that it helps the browser understand what you're writing. But now this is telling the browser that this whole HTML document, everything from here to here, is running on a language English. Now let's come to this guy. We we see a label here, our roots. This is our root elements, and which means this HTML is a root element. Everything else is inside it. So HTML is like the ancestors of the rest, or let's say the grandparents of the rest. Now inside this roots, it has two main parts. It has the head and the body. What is the head? Let's come back to our text editor. Sorry, I didn't say from the beginning, but we are using Visual Studio Code as our text editor, and that's what we'll be using all through these tutorials, and we'll be communicating with GitHub as we go further. But nevertheless, let me try to explain what the header does. Now the header holds information about your website. So basically, like your title, metadata, you can see metadata here. You can see the viewport, the width device, and then you can see there are different metadata. Now these metadata, you don't have to write them dynamically yourself. You don't have to write them every time you are coming here. Basically, with the shortcut I showed you earlier, it brings up these metadata for you. Also note, your website will work without this metadata. They would work without this metadata. So we can see a title. Now the title is actually the title of your website. It's what is going to show on the tab of your website. So this title, let's call it tutorial 1. Tutorial 1. Okay, so our title now is tutorial 1. Very well. For us to run this code, let's first of all install our first extension, which is Live Server. So I've already installed it. Live Server enables you to run your code directly from VS Code. So all we are just going to do is to run the code from Live Server. Now let's go back to our code and let's close this tab. Let's close Live Server. You can install Live Server so you can be able to run your code directly from VS Code. So to run your code now, just open the tab, click on your code, right click, and then open with Live Server. That's all. And then it should run your code directly on the browser. So okay, it's running already. I know you guys can't see, that's because it's on my other screen. So you can see now. Okay, let me make it bigger. You guys see, if you look here, you see tutorial. Okay, let me close some of these tabs so that these things can show completely. Close, 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 close. So now you can see it here, tutorial 1. So what Live Server does is that it does an auto refresh. Whenever you write a piece of code and you click on and you save your code, it automatically refreshes your code. So let's go back to our text editor and start writing some code. There's a setting I need to do before then, which is this. On my text editor, I set the auto save. I set it on auto save. Let me take it out. So now it will no longer automatically save. So back to our head. Our head stores information like links. So you can link in files, other external files that you want to display on your website on the head. You can link it on the head. You can link in every other thing except JavaScript. Why? Because JavaScript is the functionality and you don't want it to load first. Basically, how it works is this. When you are writing code, it starts executing from the top to the bottom. So you want, first things first, your HTML to load, then your CSS loads, then your JavaScript loads. So that to make your site not to be slow, you need to put your JavaScript link at the bottom of your site. You need to put your JavaScript link at the bottom of your site. Now, we are not writing JavaScript now. We are not writing CSS now. We are focusing majorly on HTML. We want to understand it. We want to know how to manipulate it. We want to know what we can do with HTML. So for these tutorials, we are going to be using W3 School a lot. W3 School is a free resource that you can use for tutorials, code snippets, and also examples. So we are going to be referring to it a lot. Okay, so let me open W3 School to show you the interface. Okay, so let's create a new tab, W3 School. So you can see it here, just click on it, W3 School. I am still loading. Okay, it's loaded. Now just come on tutorial, HTML. Let's learn HTML. So this is the interface of W3 School. You can, on your own free time, go through it, get to understand certain things about W3 School. So sorry, my system is running out of space. You can go through it and on your own learn things on W3 School. So I wouldn't advise anybody to just base your learning on one source. Yeah, I wouldn't advise anybody to base your learning on one source. Being a developer means you being able to solve problems. Sorry about that. Being a developer means you being able to solve problems. So oftentimes you are going to encounter challenges that you've never faced before. The ability for you to figure it out is what makes you a developer. So let me tell you from the beginning, I'm not going to give you 100% of what development entails. You would even be lucky if I can give you 20% because the field is endless. That's just it. But I'm going to try my best to help you to be able to navigate the space. That is, you know where you can go for certain challenges, where you can ask questions, how to overcome problems, how to use all the different online resources on your disposals to solve problems. That is my goal for this whole challenge. So you are going to see me face problems and you are going to see me solve those problems. So unlike other tutorials on the internet that is just going to edit the video and then give you a fully complete polished aspect of it, no, this is raw. Like, I will face the problem, I will figure out how to solve the problem. My goal is not to show you that I'm an expert programmer. My goal is to show you the problems that comes up when you're writing codes, how you can go about debugging them. This is very key because oftentimes most people just see tutorial and then the guy is just typing, everything is working, everything he does works, there's no error, but that's a dream world. Yeah, that's a dream world. For you to develop, you are going to face bugs. One of the things that I like, I think one of the comments I like from, I've forgotten the person's name, but it says programming is um 75% research. 75% of the times you are researching, you are learning, you are getting acquainted with new technologies. 25% of the time you are debugging your code, which means you are only coding 5% of the time. I don't know if you understand what that means. So if your idea of programming is that you are just going to sit down like in the movies, just start typing on keyboard, I'm sorry, you need to rethink, because 75% of the times you are going to be researching, reading documentation, using tutorials. 35 25% of the time you are going to be debugging your code. 5% of the times you are going to be coding. So that doesn't mean that probably you cannot write a code without running into bugs. You can, but as a beginner you are going to encounter bugs. What makes you a good developer is your ability to debug your code. There are so many developers, programmers who, after encountering a bug, they just leave the code, they just leave it like that, and then they start something new. So for your case, that won't be the case, because I'll try as much as I can to show you more resources you can use to write codes. So with that being said, let's dive into W3 School and see what it has for us. So this is W3 School. So you can see what HTML stands for. HTML is a standard markup language. HTML is a standard markup language. With HTML, you can create your own website. That's true. HTML is easy to learn. Very true. So let's scroll down, and I think I'll be using this guide to demonstrate more and then build stuffs with this guide. So easy learning with HTML. Try it yourself. So this is basically everything I've explained to you, but this guy has additional features. Let me try to make this guy big. Okay, I think it's big now. Okay, you can now see the syntax on the screen. Now if we copy this guy and paste, it will work. Remember I told you that the meta tags, your code can work without meta tags. Now you can look at these guys here. There's no meta tag. Yeah, there's no meta tag here. It's just the doc type, which tells your browser the version of HTML, the HTML itself, which is the root elements, and the header, which contains the title. Then we have the body, which contains h1, which is heading 1. Now we are going to be talking in depth about this syntax, HTML syntax, but for now I just want us to get familiar with the whole interface of HTML. Yeah, so you notice something. Every tag has an opening and a closing tag. So let's see if this guy will work. Let's copy the code. Just copy it, and let's go to our text editor. Open it. Ctrl A to highlight everything. Ctrl V to paste our code. Ctrl S to save our code. Now let's go to our browser and let's see our page. You can see it automatically refreshes our page. Now we have, this is my heading. This is big because it is using HTML1. So let's dive into the HTML syntax, what you are going to be using most of the time. Let's dive into it. So let me reduce this guy. Okay, I think we're done with the first page. Let's just see this guy, introduction to HTML. So this is basically an introduction to HTML, and I think we've done introduction to HTML. So please, in case if you don't understand anything, feel free to ask questions. Now this will be posted to the group for everyone to see. Feel free to ask questions, and you can also go online and look at different resources for your solutions. Yeah. Now I would like everyone who is watching this to engage themselves, try out certain things, and let's see what you can do. Yeah. So let's come to the basics. Let's come to the basics of HTML. So we're talking about the documents. We've talked about all these things. Let's come to elements. Okay, HTML elements. We have the H1 paragraphs. Okay, this, like I said before, every element, most of the element, not every element here, but most of the elements has a closing, an opening and a closing tag. So you can see this is the opening tag, you can see the closing tag. This is the closing tag. The difference between the opening and the closing tag is the slash in front of the H1. You can see paragraph also have the same thing. Now I'm trying to make this video as short as possible and cover as much information as I can. Let's see how this works. um, I don't know, maybe I'll be uploading the video to Google Docs and then sending the link on the group for everyone to um, follow up on it. Yep. Or maybe we'll stream live to YouTube. I don't know. I'm still looking at what we can do about that. It just popped on my head right now. So let's go back to our text editor and let's see what we can do. Okay. So our text editor, we have our heading. We can just copy our heading, which is our H1, and let's see the difference between H1 to H6. We have H1 to H6. Let's see the difference. Control C to copy, come down, Control V, come down, Control V, Control V. So we have H1. You can press alternate to highlight, to select two items. So H2, let's come down. H3, let's come down. H4, let's come down. H5, let's come down. H6. So we have H1 to H6. Now let's save and go to the browser. Control S to save. Back to our browser. Let's see our headings. Now we can see H1 is the biggest. That's why this is used for your main header, something you want everybody to see. Yeah. Then we have H2 for like subheader, subtitles and all that. We have H3, which is also big but not as big as H2. As you can see, it all starts scaling down from H1, which is the first one, to H6. Now this is our paragraph. You can see that our paragraph is somehow different Though our H6 is small, but it's still bold. It's still bolder compared to our paragraph. Yeah. So as we go forward, you see different things we can do and different ways you can style things. Our paragraph basically is for writing text. So let's say you want to write long text, you can use your paragraph for it. Yeah. Okay. Now, one thing we can also look at, let's look at dummy text generators, Lorem Ipsum generator. Okay, so let's just copy this guy like this. Ctrl C. Come to our text editor. In our paragraph, let's just take away everything here. Let's put it in 2 lines and then paste our lorem into it. Ctrl S to save. As you can see, this guy is loading. It has finished loading. So now see our paragraph. We now have everything here on our paragraph. Now there are other elements, there are other things we will look at. We have divs, we have sections, we have form elements, we have inputs, buttons, form types and all that. But as we progress, we are going to look into them. So I'm going to end this video now so that it is not too lengthy and too bulky for you to go and understand. Thank you very much for your time actually. Peace out.